Welcome to the IoT For All Podcast. Thanks for being here this week.
Thank you for having me back. I've been here once before.
Yep, once before. It's great to have you. Looking forward to this conversation, but maybe just for our audience's sake who did not listen to the first episode that we did together, maybe give a quick introduction about yourself and the company so that they can get familiar with who they're listening to.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Maor. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Monogoto. More than 30 years experience in telecommunication, network engineering, building networks. The last 6 years of my life, me and my partner Itamar are building Monogoto. We are building it in the software-defined methods, meaning everything APIs, everything horizontal, very similar that AWS build cloud compute or companies like Twilio build telephony, we are doing for connectivity.
One of the topics around connectivity that I wanted to talk about, we haven't actually covered this much at all in the past, but I think it'd be very relevant for what you all do, is talking about hybrid connectivity and maybe kicking it off with just kind of explaining what hybrid connectivity means and why does it matter right now in the era of AI, non-terrestrial networks, increasingly autonomous devices, things like that. Like, why does it matter now, and kind of just what it is in general?
So yeah, the timing actually now it's awesome thanks to AI, thanks to satellite, and I will try to explain why. But the idea was in the past that I have a specific connectivity for a specific use case. Sometimes I will use your LoRa, other times I will use cellular. Maybe in the US I will use AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon. Maybe in Europe we will use another. So it was very verticalized for the solution that you need. Hybrid connectivity comes, I think, from the bottom up and from the top down, meaning technology allow us today to use a single connectivity, cellular, to do satellite, to do private, to do public. So technology-wise, we can use a single stack of technology, meaning single modem, to switch between different connectivity provider. And from the use case side, it's not so verticalized anymore, meaning a connected car, which is a perfect example for hybrid connectivity, sometimes need to be on AT&T network to get the macro, sometimes need to be on a Wi-Fi network to get cheap or free connectivity to upload terabytes or gigabytes of data, and sometimes need satellites if I'm in the mountains and I absolutely need coverage. So the notion of hybrid connectivity comes from devices that are changing personality, and for each personality, they need a different connectivity type. Sometimes it's more expensive, sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's better SLA, sometimes it's just a better coverage. And they don't want to have fragmented solutions. So I don't want to end up in a car with 4 different modems, LoRa modem and Wi-Fi and cellular and etc.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So more versatility, more flexibility, and also being just optimized for the need of that use case and making it as not only efficient but also cost effective as possible.
Even if I may add, if a single provider like Monogoto can offer all of them, and now a company that a conversation from this morning, a company that are doing medical devices in a hospital, they want to be on a private 5G or Wi-Fi. Outside of the hospital, they need to be on a public. Today, they have multiple different stacks. So not only a single service provider, but also a single stack to cover all of it.
So you mentioned smart vehicles, but if we look at other physical AI-driven machines like robots, drones, and so forth, what are some of the new connectivity demands that these types of devices are introducing, and why can't maybe traditional networks keep up?
Let's talk about two aspects. One, AI is moving a lot to the edge. It can be on the actual phone, or it can be on an edge device. And when the AI can be executed on the edge, I don't necessarily need high throughput. So now we can justify many use cases when we have low power one for the backhaul and AI that will recognize people. And instead of streaming the whole video stream, you can just stream or give the metadata. So now it's opened the umbrella for a new age of use cases that connectivity or that were very price sensitive. At CES, we are going to do a demo with one of our partners, which is an edge AI that is connected to a camera and can backhaul on a low power one, even on satellite. So the second aspect is completely the other side. Let's say you have a factory, and in the factory you want to have cameras. You want to have an edge AI in the factory to process all the camera through imaging. But then you need a good solution to broadcast the feed to the edge AI. And then private 5G with network slicing is an ultimate way to deploy something like that. So from the high demand, high throughput, high SLA, and we can talk, or from the low power one, we can also look at it from this angle.
So speaking of edge AI, I think it's a pretty popular topic that's worth expanding a little bit on. How does pairing edge AI with low power networks? What does that look like in practice, and where are you seeing this be most impactful? Just kind of curious to get your thoughts there.
So companies are coming now with single board computers that is cost less and less. If it's not the correct English, but that the price is getting more and more commoditized. And on top of that, companies like Monogoto can provide hybrid connectivity, so we can give a solution for wherever it is. And a robot can be good example. I don't think that a company that creates robot wants to rely on the connectivity for the robot performance. So you want connectivity that is the metadata, but the actual AI of a robot or a connected car or any device that is running the AI on the edge can be independent. And then the backhaul can be sufficient even if it's not high throughput.
And let me ask you about security and kind of that side of things. So, with security regulations seemingly getting tighter, when people talk about built-in security, it doesn't seem like that's much of an option anymore. So, what happens when a company tries to, or I guess, yeah, tries to kind of bolt on compliance halfway through a project versus built-in security, and why that's so important?
We can add the word finally because we are talking about security for the last few years. We even, in the early days of Monogoto, we even called it secure cellular connectivity, but we realized that people don't really care much about security. Now it's come from both awareness of customers, awareness that it's available. Also, the analysts are trying to look at it in a better or deeper, with more thoughts, and also regulation. And there is a regulation in Europe, regulation in the US. So the data in motion and the data residency and what's happened to the data is very important. And traditionally, to add security to an IoT use case was to bring an external company. And I think we are one of the first that security is part of the product. It's like you're buying a house and somebody is telling you, do you want to pay extra to secure it? When you get a house, it needs to come with a door and you need to be able to lock the door. You don't need to pay extra for that. And for the exact same thing, for us, observability, it's the beginning, security come right after. But I think that now the awareness that these things need to be secure and that a connected car might transmit data to the wrong places and somebody need to be able to audit it, it's finally happening. And to add security from the platform can remove a lot of friction for a company that are building robots or connected car or any device that needs to have more security at any stage of the company.
When you talk to companies that you work with as customers, how easy has it been to kind of articulate the needs that you think that they need to be thinking about, the areas they need to address? Because what I'm kind of getting at is just how far we've come and maybe still need to go when it comes to market education around a lot of these major challenges, major just evolutions in technology, how IoT solutions and connectivity fit into the needs of these organizations. So maybe one question for you is just like what's some of the biggest misconceptions companies still have about modern IoT connectivity, or some of the things that you maybe talk about regularly with customers that come to you?
I think that we are very back on market education. For example, hybrid connectivity. It's not trivial to explain to a customer that he can use the SIM card to also register to a Wi-Fi network or to a private network. I can use an unlicensed band to build a private network on 900 megahertz. Not easy to explain, and we need more and more advocate that this technology available and even not. So maybe when we talk about market education, it's one, there is a lot of fear from pricing. Satellite sounds super expensive. I don't want to pay $1,000 a month, and to understand that you can get to a satellite connectivity with $1 per month, this is a market education. Security can be out of the box. I can do firewall. I can look at my packets. Like traditionally, you get a SIM card from AT&T or from any MNO, and you don't have visibility to what's actually happening. And now with companies like us, when the visibility, or we call it cloud-based practice, like we want that the customer come to us or look at an IoT use case, and I don't want to call it IoT anymore. We want to call it software-defined connectivity. It's given that whatever you get on the cloud compute, you will also get on the connectivity. So if I get API on cloud compute to, I don't know, change hard drive, I will get API on the connectivity to change security policies. So maybe the essence of the API is different, but the best practice should be the same. And that's a big part of our education, is to show customer things that they haven't thought about that it's possible to get from the connectivity.
One other thing I wanted to ask you kind of before we get towards the end here is around SIM virtualization. It's been something that I think is getting a lot of attention right now. How is it changing kind of the way organizations manage and scale connected devices? Is it something that, I guess, just talk to me about your kind of side of things with that, and how it's playing a role in the wider industry?
Even if I look at the hybrid side of things, for me, hybrid, or for us, hybrid is to be able to support any form factor of SIM card. So on the low end, we can introduce something called soft SIM, which is for companies that are very price sensitive. It's a software that is running on the modem and can authenticate to a network. Is it the most secure thing in the world? No. But for a disposable label that you only use for 3 months and you don't want to pay for the hardware, you want also the battery efficient and the cost will be maximized, absolutely yes. So eSIM, SGP32, soft SIM, iSIM, now there is a new kids on the block called NU SIM. It's all different form factors to eventually register in the network. And I think that, again, hybrid connectivity, so different use cases will justify different ways of connecting to the network. And our goal is to support all of them, and also to educate that it's available and it's not rocket science. And this is why we promote what we call Monogoto Labs, which is easy way to test this type of identities.
I wanted to kind of go back to talking about hybrid connectivity real quick and ask you if you could maybe take us through some additional examples and use cases where maybe a use case requires a device to seamlessly go between a cellular, private network, Wi-Fi, satellites. Talk about how a car might do it. What are some of the leading use cases that are adopting more of the hybrid connectivity or maybe requiring it? And then also thinking a little bit kind of into the future, are there use cases that are not leveraging hybrid connectivity right now that you feel like will eventually require it?
Let's not start with cars. Let's start with cow. Connected cow, a great example for hybrid connectivity. A cow apparently has a GPS tracker because it's an expensive animal, and they are farming everywhere. So satellite is a great add-on for them. So roaming between satellite to public. And now we have companies that are doing connected cars and sometimes deploy private LTE in the farm. So it's a great example of a company that will have a GPS tracker for the cow, and the same device will hybrid between public, private, and cellular. Connected cars, it's similar. Maybe the use case will be a FedEx device will move between the FedEx warehouse, where they will have private, to the public network on AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon. By the way, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, it's also hybrid. It's one SIM card that is moving between different service providers. And the last thing is the send FedEx car when you are in middle of nowhere and there is an SOS or some emergency, you can still get satellite connectivity.
Last thing I want to ask you before I let you go here is looking ahead, what shift in hybrid connectivity or I guess IoT security or any of the topics you kind of talked about now do you think will surprise people the most over the next 5 years, or maybe if not surprise, the most important things that will happen over the coming years that are going to play a big role in kind of increasing adoption, more viability of use cases, things like that?
I think the biggest change is going to be LEO satellites, because the GEO satellites are with not too much capacity, and you cannot really get high throughput. But the LEO satellite, I think, will mark a new era of independence. Independence, like company like Apple might become a service provider, or company like Tesla might become a service provider for end user. Company like Monogoto, partnering with LEO satellites, will have global connectivity with the resilience of not only the MNOs. So I think LEO constellations is a very important add-on to the industry in terms of connected devices. On the other side, I think that Wi-Fi and the private 4G and 5G will eventually be mature enough in campuses. So roaming in a campus, like on a Costco, on a Walmart, or in a hospital, will move there for anything from the car that is visiting all the way to the medical device that is being sold to this facility.
Thank you again for doing this. This has been an awesome conversation, covering topics that we have not touched on in a while, or really at all. Like I was saying, the hybrid connectivity has not been a topic, but definitely as I've been in the space since 2016, a lot of our conversations for the first number of years were very much all around just like individual connectivity options that existed in the market and how you had to pick the right one. And you basically picked one, right? You picked one, and that was what you were going with. There was trade offs on both sides, but as the technology evolves, and as you talked about today, being able to mix the different connectivity types to give you the optimal connectivity for your use case at every kind of instance of where maybe the device or the asset is moving is fantastic. I think it's something that is going to create a lot of value as the industry continues to progress forward. So appreciate you coming on and shedding light on kind of what's going on in the space. For our audience out there who wants to learn more about what you all are doing, maybe follow up on this discussion, anything like that, what's the best way they can do it?
We are the most accessible company out there, so you can find us online everywhere, and everything we spoke about. We even have demos and tutorials of how to test it yourself.
Fantastic. That's great. No, appreciate that. We'll make sure we link everything up in our descriptions and promotion of this episode. But other than that, thank you again so much for your time. It's great to have you back. And I'm sure we'll talk again sometime in 2026 about where the industry is and going. And, look forward to that conversation when it comes.
Thank you very much. All the time, market education. We need to help.
Yeah, of course. That was our story back then. People didn't really understand all the different technologies. So we're like, let's just put it into layman terms and hope people will grasp the value of IoT and better understand it so that they want to adopt it. And it's been great to get everybody involved, like you all and many others, to help continue that education. So thank you again, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.